Hi guys, Erik Swanson. Today I want to talk to you about some closing techniques that really work. Let's get started right away. Okay, so let me ask you, what's the most valuable thing to do is really give service. Yet most of us don't ask actually for the close, for people to take advantage of our services and products. What do you think the most common close is out there, if you will, or common thing that we say? Let me just tell you. Obviously, because I can't really hear you. the most common thing that we hear when sales professionals, when they go out there, this is what most of the time that we do. We get out there, we give a great presentation, we sit back, take that deep breath, we turn to the client, and we say something like this. So, what do you think? What do you think? Is that a good close? Yes or no? Absolutely not. Is it a close? Yes, it's definitely a close, right? You just closed yourself. Isn't that right? You just closed yourself, you closed that opportunity. So instead, ask a different way. Let me give you one technique that's really simple, but it's awesome. In fact, I'll give you two techniques right now. The first one, jot down, it makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? It makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? That's the first one. And the second one, write down the second one because I'm going to give this to you right now and I'll explain both at the same time. Now the second one, only write down the second one if you're in a position where you are offering your services, offering your products, and your client or your prospect is saying, I need you, this is great, I love it, I just can't afford it right now. They always say it right now, isn't that right? They push it off. But do you have any clients like that that just can't simply afford it? And they say that to you. Or worse, they don't say that to you, and yet that's the real objection. So here's a way to handle that one, and then I'll go back to the first one in a second. So to handle the second, this objection about not being able to afford it, here's what you say. We are not trying to be the low-cost provider. Write this down. We are not trying to be the low-cost provider. We are the low-risk provider. Oh, that's awesome, isn't it? Let me explain what I mean. We're not trying to be the low-cost provider. This implies somebody else is cutting their cost. You get what you pay for without actually saying that to a client because it's too rude to say nowadays. But you're implying that we're not trying to be the low-cost provider. This implies somebody else is cutting their costs. You get what you pay for. We are the low-risk provider. In fact, Mr. and Mrs. Jones just sent me another testimonial letter or video. Oh, that's a whole nother subject on a whole nother training video that I do on testimonials and building credibility. Okay, but getting back to this, so we're not trying to be a low-cost provider. This implies somebody else is cutting their cost. You get what you pay for. We are a low-risk provider. Nobody wants to take a big risk, especially in this investment in you and your family, in you and your project, in you and your business, in you and your team, and your company. Isn't that correct, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect? What are they going to say? And you're doing this, right? Mirroring and matching, you know about that, don't you? And what are they going to say there is, yes, of course. And what do? You go to the close that I gave you first, which is simply, it makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? Say it out loud. It makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? Okay, I want you to mantra that to yourself for the next 24 hours. All I want you to say to yourself, anytime you open a door, you say it to yourself. Anytime you sit down in a chair, you say it to yourself, okay? Have these TOMAs, top of mind awareness. So whenever you have a trigger like that, make sure you practice this on an ongoing basis the next 24 hours or 48 hours or make it a week. So you know, anytime somebody says something and you know that you can do a closing technique and you want to use this confidence-building closing technique, you bring it out and you say, it makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? This leads to two answers. Let me explain how this works. Let's take, for instance, I have training seminars that we do throughout the world, really. So international training seminars. And there's a cost to go to the event. Let's say it's $1,000 to attend one of our events. If let me bring it down to $1,500 to go and utilize one of our training sessions in your office. How about that? So it's a 45-minute training session where we'll do this example. 45-minute training session with one of our senior trainers to come in during one of your upcoming meetings for your staff, and it's only $1,500 for the 45 minutes. So it's very economical or nominal. Okay, here's what I'm gonna share with you is it makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? Now, let me ask you, if out of these, let's say, 5 areas we just briefly discussed, which are after my presentation, let's say, that I gave you as my presentation or offer, if that makes sense, and I share with you that we're going to teach you goal strategies, time management, prospecting, closing skills, and positive mental attitude. Out of those 5 areas, which do you think are important to your success? Pretty much all of them, of course. How many do you think that we need to work on out of those 5 if you're a sales professional? All of them as well. Absolutely correct. Now, let me ask this. If you could rate yourself on a scale of 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 on all these 5 areas, which would you have rated the lowest out of those 5? Whether it's goal strategies, time management, prospecting, closing, or positive mental attitude. Which is it for you? Actually, you should ask yourself the same question. Let's say it's prospecting. Let me ask this question then. If, let's say you have us in for the training and we really highlight prospecting for you and your team, and we really share with you some time-tested, amazing techniques to get you in front of more qualified clients without wasting your time. If that acquires for you and your group and your team and your agency and your business one more client on a consistent basis per individual, per agent at your office, let's say, do you think it'll pay for itself? Of course. And then how long do you get to keep the information you actually learn there at one of our events or one of our trainings in your office? Forever, a lifetime. So it does make sense to me, wouldn't you agree? Do you see how that works? It makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? These are 2 answers, either yes or no. And I'm sick of the pendings, aren't you? I'm sick of people saying, let me think about it, let me get back to you, can I get your business card? Don't you have those? Aren't you sick of wasting time on time wasters? So be cautious there. We call that the be back bus. You got to ask some specific questions to identify who is in front of you, okay? So it makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree, these are 2 answers, either yes or no. If they say yes, you move right to the close, or peripheral closes is what we call them, and you take care of, let's say payments, how do you want it, maybe it's a color, which color do you prefer, or, the telltale signs of alternative closes, if that makes sense. So you go into the peripherals of signing them up and moving them to the next level and utilizing you as their provider or agent. Okay? So it makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree these are 2 answers? Yes, you take care of all the details, and you don't forget about asking for referrals. And you just simply put it right in there. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you for some referrals. And then you compliment them. You being a progressive thinker that you are, I'm sure you know a lot of people that we can work with as well. Who else do you know that's in this type of, and you give them an example of who you're looking for, from your 30 list of the persona that you're looking for, of the ideal client? Okay, so the second type of answer they're going to have is an objection. Is that correct? So it makes sense to me, wouldn't you agree? 2 answers, either yes, take care of all the details, ask for referrals, don't forget about asking for testimonials as well. Second option they have is no, wait, and it's like, stop, wait, I have a question about, and they're going to ask you questions. These are objections. Are objections good or bad? They're excellent. I hope you'll check out our next training on overcoming objections. Again, my name is Erik Swanson. Really appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have us into your office if you'd like. I'd love to meet you.